Welcome inside the post-game show here on Bill Matic. We appreciate you guys being with us the entire season long. DA, Damon Amendolara, Sirius XM host, and Bill Matic host. And that is an absolutely crushing way to end another season. In the annals of Bill's devastating losses and postseason collapses and heartache and all the types of agita and anxiety and nightmares that come with being a Bills fan, that one lives up there. That one ranks up there because there were multiple opportunities to salt that game away, to ice that game, and every single one went against the Buffalo Bills, some self-inflicted, some not. So let's break it all down here. I appreciate you guys being with us as always throughout the entire season. We have done this podcast on YouTube throughout the entire year following every Bills game, and for all of you guys that have been with me and built the audience throughout the season, I truly appreciate it. And thanks so much to Sandbaggers Bar and Grill in Buffalo for being the title sponsor. We are at Pennings Farm and Grill here in Warwick, New York, my hometown, a great place to be watching football. And immediately after the game, everybody just streamed out. And so behind me were all tables full of Bills fans that just ended up heading for the exits. But this is a three-part disaster for the Bills. And again, some self-inflicted and some not. The first part, which is really hard to escape, is the officiating on that final drive. And I hate to lead with refs. I don't like blaming the refs. I don't like pointing the fingers and not owning it. But the fact that the refs had been silent throughout the entire game and had really allowed these two teams to play and not insert themselves into the decision of the game and big plays, for them to throw flags on multiple dicey 50-50 decisions, I thought was really disappointing. Because if you're in overtime of a playoff game, really that's when the flags and the whistles should really be only when it's obvious, overt. And they had done such a good job not calling the 50-50s, not going above and beyond to insert themselves, that the final drive for that to happen was very disappointing. That's the first part. The second part is I just don't know how you can confidently say that's an interception on the Bills' final drive of overtime. I have a hard time believing that on the field you can call that an INT. I know it's got to be one or the other, a catch or an INT. It's not an incomplete pass because the ball never hits the ground. But basically by calling it a completion or calling it an INT essentially rendered the review seemingly obsolete. That there didn't seem to be a booth review. They call a timeout, but was there a true booth review? Was there really a stoppage in play? Or did the booth just go with what on the field was the call? And for the refs on the field to call that an interception is really hard for me, not just because I'm wearing a Bills hat right now, not just because this was Bill Matic, but simply because as the ball comes down, the first possession as the ball comes down to one or the other, corner or receiver, is receiver. The first possession to be held as the ball comes to the ground and the bodies come to the ground is the receiver. So to call that interception because the player rips the ball away is hard for me. And I know that a review has to be, undeniable evidence, but that's really hard to me to call on the field that to be an INT. And thirdly, it is Bill's self-inflicted wounds. Neither one of those are on the Bills. Those, what I just mentioned, the first two parts of this are referee decisions. But there are a series of plays that one goes for the Bills, and this is a different outcome. And we will just start with the overthrow to Dawson Knox in overtime, at the end of the regulation, rather. That's a play down the seam that is called correctly. It's executed correctly. Knox seems to be running the perfect route. And if Josh catches him in stride, they're winning that football game. And they're going in for a dub, and they're walking out in regulation. But Josh misses them by, 6 inches, 8 inches, 10 inches? And it's a shame because Josh was so good last week against Jacksonville. And Josh had been so great throughout so many clutch points of the season. But in this game, there were multiple moments where he was less than. And that was the biggest one because the game was on the line right there. But more than that, to build on that, you're talking about all of the turnovers. And the end of the second quarter is a fumble that could be 3 points for the Bills. It ends up being 3 points the other way. That's a Josh fumble. He's just got to protect the ball better. To begin the third quarter, that's a Josh fumble that leads to a field goal back the other way for the Broncos. That should be, at worst, net 0, not another 3 for the Broncos. And then the interception at the goal line where Josh just underthrows the receiver. At the end of the day, that's not a throw. And so I guess you'd rather lose when the ball's in Josh's hands. You'd rather lose when Josh has the opportunity to make those plays. But in this case, it's really hard because there were, out of those 3 turnovers, you can add the James Cook fumble as well early. Those are 1, 2, 3, 4 turnovers that are the difference of 9, 12, 19 points, minimum 15 points. I mean, that's the difference in that game of at least 3 or 4 or even 5 field goals one way or the other. And so there's just a million ways to slice this up, and none of them are encouraging. And I think that you got to give the Broncos credit because they tackled really well tonight. They swarmed Josh. The Bills' pass rush never got to Bo Nix, never really made him have happy feet. I think that was something that the Bills had to have. We knew that Bosa or somebody else was really going to have to get to the quarterback. They never really did. That's a problem. That was disappointing. But really, even at the end of the day, after all of that, they held the Broncos to field goals, and the Bills turned the football over so many times that you can't help but wonder what if. And you can't help but wonder also what if with the officials and what happened in overtime and then that interception. Was it not? It's unfortunately wide right. It's unfortunately 13 seconds. It's unfortunately all of the heartbreak ever. Was that really an interception? And I have a hard time just calling that an interception because the corner didn't have the first possession as the 2 players fell down to the ground. If he had first possession, that's okay. That's fine. To me, possession should go to the first player that hits the ground on a contested play like that, a contested pass like that. And you know, you look at an AFC that obviously is filled with a lot of flawed football teams. And if you were going to finally break through and get to a Super Bowl, this felt like the type of year, the type of field to do so. You win today, and you're either going to Houston, which even though you lost earlier in the regular season, that's a winnable game in my estimation, or you're going to New England where you've already won a month and a half ago. So there were chances. The field was open. It was an opportunity, and what can you say? It's just more of the same for Bills fans. I don't know why Bills fans deserve this fate. I thought that this could have been different. This should have been different. This would have been different. But, you know, take the knife and keep shanking a Bills fan to the spleen because that's just the life that Bills fans have led, and they are a hardier bunch than most because it's not just losing. It's losing in controversial, heartbreaking, by inches, by centimeters fashion. Obviously, I want to hear from you guys in the chat, and always appreciate you guys dropping on by. By virtue of this loss, I will have to eat atomic wings. I had this bet with Maggie Gray, huge Bills fan from CBS Sports Radio, Infinity Sports Radio. I said, I think the Bills are going to the AFC Championship game weeks ago. She said, I bet you they're not. This is not the season, DA. I said, I bet you they are. Loser had to eat a dozen atomic wings and 2 Labatt Blue Lights at 10 o'clock in the morning one weekday. That's now going to be me. So obviously that will be live streamed. We will bring that to you. So maybe if you're a Bills fan, you have a little bit of reason to at least have a smile to watch me and my pain as you have to dig through your pain. Jerry, you want to jump on here? You want to? So one of my good friends from high school, Jerry Schlichting, Bills fan from way back in the day. Your family's from Western New York. Was it one of your family members grew up next to Frank Reich?
Right around the corner. My aunt and uncle used to live in Orchard Park, right on Jewin Holmwood Road, right around the corner from a bunch of the players. And my uncle Leo and Frank became friendly for a while and hooked me up with a lot of good gear back in the Super Bowl years. And Doesn't get any easier, man.
So how we feeling today?
Crappy, to put it mildly. We blew it. We blew it.
Okay, so you're not blaming the refs here.
We had more than enough chances. I feel like the calls were crap at the end. I mean, the PI call, maybe that interception. I don't know how you have a player on the ground with possession. As soon as the defender touches him, it's my impression it's a dead ball, and yet somehow it's theirs. I don't know how you call it or don't even review it in that spot, But, I mean, James Cook, the fumble, Josh Allen missing knocks on that seam. It was there. We had the chances, Brandon Cooks just holding on to the ball. We just inches. And you get a little tired of it after a while, you know what I mean?
It's always inches.
Always inches. Just never enough.
Ay, ay, ay. Never ends. The pain never
But I
ends.
hope you won't jump off the bandwagon with us now,
No, this has been a good year. This has been a fun year. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Nah, Bill's Mafia is amazing family. And yeah, it really is. So it's been really nice to be embraced, to have the audience that we have here. And I wish it would have ended better, but we'll be back next year to do the same damn thing. So
Go Bills.
go Bills. And my cousin Greg, come on in here. Greg and I did broadcasting here in Warwick, New York, where we grew up many, many moons ago. So we're watching this game here at Pennings Farm on the big screen here behind us. And I mean, is that an interception, or is that I don't know, is that a catch at the in overtime?
DA, that's a really tough call at the end of the game, I think, by the NFL officials. I agree with you. Possession to the receiver going to the ground. The cornerback didn't turn his head, didn't even see the ball coming in, just kind of made a play on the ball as he was rotating. Really tough call. In hindsight, it acted kind of as a punt, but the pass interference calls were very tough to take at the end of the game.
And it's just another gut-wrenching, knifing way for Bills fan to have to endure the end of a season.
Yeah, Buffalo does not deserve this. Many great teams. You definitely have the team this year, and it's just a shame that you traveled to Denver and didn't have the result that you were looking for there. Had chances, definitely did have some chances, and we're making those plays all year. But unfortunately, the ball didn't go their way this time. But really, we were pulling for you for sure.
We thought your call was going to be right, 34-31. You had that like midway through the third quarter. You thought 34-31 Mills.
Yeah, I really thought it was, going to have some Josh Allen magic at the end of the game, and it was coming our way. A lot of third down, the scrambling. When the pocket breaks down and Josh can look downfield or use his feet. Generally, good results come of it. But again, just a little bit too much controversy for me at the end of the game. Not a clean win there by the Broncos, and all you can do if you're Buffalo is look to next year. Take a couple. The rest of the season, rest up. Add some pieces, and I think there's still some time for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, you saw Josh at the end of that game just head in hands, and it's just like, what's going through his mind right now of like, another opportunity by the wayside.
I think if you're Josh, you're still young enough where and you're a proven leader on that team, and for the Buffalo area, just put that work in. Stay positive, keep motivating your peers on that team, and get back to work. It's just another bump in the road. It's going to make that victory eventually that much sweeter for Josh, the Bills, and the Buffalo area.
Just get back to work there. Just get back to work.
We believe in them.
Get back to work. Very nice. So what a season it has been here on the Bill Matic podcast. And appreciate obviously all you guys weighing in all season long. Been very cool to see all the comments. So let me read through some of the comments here. We're at Pennings Farm Grill here in Warwick, New York, my hometown. So let's see. Kristen in Buffalo says the Bills got second life with the drought ending a few years ago, but I'll stand by this age-old curse. Buffalo can't have two winning teams at the same time. Hashtag the Sabres. Yeah, the Sabres have actually been on a roll here. And so there you go. They're actually on a little bit of a run here. And so maybe that's what Bills fans have to live for. Death by salsa, death by chili, and now our man has to suffer death by wings. DA, you have the guts of cast iron, my brother. Yes, I will have to eat atomic wings at 10 o'clock in the morning. I will say that last week against the Jaguars, I felt worse about that matchup. I thought the Bills would win this game. I thought the Jaguars posed actually a tougher threat because they were really good defensively and because Trevor had played so well in the second half of the season. But I got to give Bo credit. I'm not a big Bo Nix fan, but Bo Nix tonight made a lot of quick reads when the pressure was coming at him. There were no sacks in this game of Bo Nix. For a second-year player in a divisional round playoff game, for Bo Nix to have escaped the rush, a lot of first downs with his legs in the first drive of the game, he made the right throws. He made the right reads. And even if those pass interferences late were kind of just chucking them up and praying, you know what? You got to give Bo Nix credit. And he was the one that got it done. And I did not think that I thought the Bills, after coming off what they did last week, finally getting that road playoff victory, were going to win today. Kyle in Ohio, we can rightfully be mad about the refs. They deserve a lot of criticism for how they interfered with that last drive. But the Bills also made a lot of errors, which put them in that situation to begin with. Turnovers were ridiculous, and the defense couldn't stop the Broncos in going for it in the fourth quarter. All true. And, I do know this. I have had my criticisms of Sean McDermott in the past, but Sean McDermott is not a guy that points fingers. He's not a guy that's going to blame the refs. He's going to be a guy that really looks at what they needed to do better. And I do think this game comes down to that in so many ways. The 4 turnovers, if we would have said before the game the Bills will have four turnovers, every single Bills fan would have said, well, we'll lose that game. There's nobody that thought you could give away the ball 4 times, 4 possessions, and win this game at Mile High. And so even the possibility of being in overtime with a chance to win is a pretty remarkable thing, despite the 4 turnovers. And so, it's a tough one, but there were certainly plenty of opportunities for the Bills to get this job done, and they just could not figure it out, obviously. Moist Pork, my man, maybe it's time to stop believing in Josh Allen. This was, I think, the toughest part about all of it. There was a graphic that CBS put up early in this game. Josh, in his last 6 playoff starts, 16 touchdowns, 0 turnovers. And I thought, man, that is legacies type stuff. Yeah, they haven't gotten to a Super Bowl, but what could you expect? What more could you expect from a guy besides 16 touchdowns and 0 turnovers? And here he is tonight, and it flipped the entire other way. 3 turnovers from Josh. The 2 fumbles are really tough to stomach, and then the interception is just an underthrow. Those are good plays by the Broncos, but those are also plays that Josh just needed to be better. And I know tonight, yes, this will be missed opportunities, and Josh will, I'm sure, think about pass interference in the last drive. But Josh is going to think about what he did. He's the type of guy that owns it as well, which is why it's easy to root for him. And he will kill himself. He will beat himself up. He will be restless for the entire offseason, maybe forever, because what are the odds that Josh comes off 6 starts in the playoffs with 0 turnovers and has 3 of them himself tonight? You can't go on the road to the 1 seed and give away the football 4 times. It's just never going to break your direction. Ever, 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 ever. Word of the game. Interesting. Yeah, thankfully we were here and the Romo and Nance broadcast was slightly muted. We had the crowd behind us, so we couldn't hear everything from Romo. I can only imagine how Romo was during this game. If you're a Bills fan, he probably was doubly as annoying. I mean, last week he was annoying, and they won the football game. I can only imagine listening to him and, losing the game. The fact is, Josh failed to the playoffs again. It's just never going to happen, Bills fans. I mean, look, like I said, I don't know how you lay at the feet all these losses for a guy that never had a turnover, but tonight you want to point the blame at him? Absolutely. I will also say this is going to be a decision that Bills fans may rue forever. The fact that they won the coin toss in overtime and decided to defer because it meant that they didn't get the 3rd possession. There's always this back and forth. If you kick off, you know what you have to do with the 2nd possession. If the Broncos get a field goal, you know you need a field goal at least. Broncos get a touchdown, you know you need to get a touchdown. But By virtue of that, you don't get the third possession. The third possession is sudden overtime. The third possession is do or die. And the Broncos ended up getting the third possession. Again, it can cut both ways. You know what you have to match, and that's what McDermott, I'm sure, was playing for. But that is a decision that can go either way. And in this case, because all the Broncos needed on the third possession, all anybody needs in overtime, and third possession is just a field goal, it means you own walk-off potential. So it's not as egregious as 13 seconds, but it is a decision that comes back to Sean. And I think the analytics department and data, distribution in the Bills and the decision of whether that is really the right play. I don't know. I can see it both ways, but I will say that you have to live with that as well, that you never get a chance to sudden death it. You do have the second possession. A touchdown would have done that, but obviously that didn't happen. And, you end up watching the Broncos do exactly that to you. Ray says, you're the man. I appreciate you, Ray. I appreciate all Bills fans and really everybody. I had a lot of NFL fans that just weighed in, logged in, whether you're on X, Instagram Live, on YouTube. We've had just a bunch of people that after all these Bills games have logged in just because the Bills have played so many crazy games. If you think about the season, opens up with a crazy comeback victory over the Ravens at home on the opening Sunday night. You had that wild back and forth Buccaneers game where it was just like last team to touch the football in the third and fourth quarter. You had that crazy Bengals game. You have the Chiefs game where the Bills played really well in that game. You had the 21-point comeback in Foxborough. You had the end of the regular season, farewell to Highmark. You had the Jaguars game, and now this one. The Bills just cornered the market this year on wild, outrageous games. And maybe you can't win a Super Bowl that way when everything is so chaotic and everything is a comeback and everything is from behind. When you think about it, the Bills dug themselves a 13-point hole with 4 turnovers in Denver. It's really hard, but they had seized the lead even despite that. Despite 4 turnovers and down 13 on the road at Mile High, they'd seized a lead and could not hang on to it, which is just a devastating end of the season. Let's see. CNYCC, no other NFL relies solely on one player, NFL team, to carry them through the promised land. It's on the Bills' ownership to step up and get 17 held for the next 5 years of his prime. Yeah, and, at the end of the day, I think what you see is the Bills have to upgrade at wide receiver. And that's been an obvious storyline all season long. That's on them. That's on Brandon Beane. That's on McDermott. Keon Coleman drops a touchdown, wouldn't have counted because of the penalties, catches one. He can't be wide receiver 1. And your best offensive weapon can't always be the running back without something downfield to open up the running back. Cook was amazing, this year, despite not having a downfield threat. The Bills roster build has to be better at wide receiver. Obviously. I will also, though, give the Bills this leniency. Even tonight, look at the defensive backs that are playing for the Buffalo Bills. It was amazing in many ways that they got this far, considering all of the injuries that they suffered throughout this season. On and on and on and on and on and on it went to where Brandon Cooks is playing significant snaps at wide receiver. Jordan Poyer is back from the dead, and he's depended upon until he gets injured again. You're talking about guys that are playing in this game. I mean, Savage is in this game, but he gives up a touchdown in this game. Should Darnell Savage be getting significant snaps in a playoff game? That's obviously due to injuries. You're just looking at guys that have to step up and make plays. That Dane Jackson gets toasted because of the Trey White injury on that play. I mean, again, you're bringing back Tre'Davious White, who ends up committing the terrible foul late to set up the easy field goal. But, that's probably going to be a chip shot anyway. White is that's the killer. That on Hard Knocks early in the season, here's Tre'Davious White saying, I'm so thankful and happy to be back on the Bills. And here is the end of the season, head in helmet, hands in helmet, and, melting down because of the penalty. But you can't have Darnell Savage and Dane Jackson in, important coverages in a playoff game on the road against a 1 seed. The injuries were too much. They just were too much to overcome. And so I give McDermott a lot of credit. I am not the biggest McDermott guy, but obviously, I got to give them credit for the way that they were able to maneuver through all of those injuries this year. And you know what? We're going to have a really interesting game as somebody's going to Denver. It's either the Texans' filthy defense or the Patriots and Drake May and Vrabel going to Denver. And, it's a super interesting AFC where it's been anybody's bracket. And I think the Bills proved that the last 2 weeks, going to Jacksonville, knocking off the AFC South winner, and then going to Denver and nearly getting the win on the road as well. So that's basically going to do it for us tonight here on the Bill Matic podcast. If you have enjoyed the pod all season long here on YouTube, on X, or on Instagram Live, fear not, I'm not going away. What this season has done is it's brought me so close to so many cool places that are filled with Bills fans. And so what I want to do is continue that thing going throughout the offseason. So I got a vibe feeling that maybe we'll do something for draft day. We'll do something at a sports bar, a Bills backers bar for draft night. First round, we'll get everybody together and have a good time. We'll keep doing this, tell some stories about Bills history on this podcast, and then run it back next year because the outpouring of support from Western New York has always been top-notch, and you guys came and brought it this year as well, and I appreciate you guys welcoming me in. And I got a live Atomic Wings challenge to do as well at some point here in the next few weeks with Maggie Gray, so that'll be live streamed as part of the Bill Matic podcast as well. So once again, thanks to Pennings Farm here in Warwick, New York, beautiful Hudson Valley, apple picking country is where I grew up. I absolutely love it here. And they've been such great hosts for me. So thanks so much, Pennings. And thanks so much to our sponsors throughout the year, Sam Baker's Bar and Grill in Hamburg, New York, which hosted our meet and greet earlier in the season and have been a tremendous sponsor for us all season long. So appreciate you guys. Thanks so much. Tomorrow night after the late game, I'll be on live again doing this very same thing on this YouTube channel, on X and Instagram Live. If you're not on YouTube, make sure you get over there to subscribe to the channel. Click on subscribe because if you're a subscriber, you're in the running for the Santo Grand Prize, which is a $500 value, which is 2 amazing outdoor chairs and a fire pit, all from Santo Tequila, another one of our sponsors. So just make sure you're a subscriber to the YouTube channel. That way you are in the running. As long as you're a sub, you're in the running. So get over to the YouTube channel. Just use this same handle, @DamonAmendo on YouTube, and you will be in for the same running that everybody else is here for the Santo Tequila giveaway. And I'll be with you for Watch DA Live tomorrow night. There's amazing content that we have on this YouTube channel all throughout the offseason. I'll be doing a ton of draft coverage, free agent stuff, NFL here, there, everywhere, coaching, decisions, turnovers, Super Bowl coverage, everything. We're going to be football every single day throughout the offseason. So make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel so that you are connected to this digital mothership. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. I appreciate you so much. Bill Matic has been an ode to Illmatic, the Nas hip-hop album of the 1990s, because we thought there's nothing more 90s than the Bills. And it's been so cool to be able to do this and have a lot of fun doing it. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed it as well. It's been a hard knock life for the Bills this year, but as always, remember to honor the buffalo. All right, that's the way we do it. It's a sacred creature. It's an ancient culture that always honored the buffalo, and so that's what we have to do here because one day it will turn around, Bills fans. It will, as long as you honor the buffalo. Be good. Be good to one another. I'll see you tomorrow night on Watch DA Live here on YouTube and also on Monday morning on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Channel 82, Sirius XM, and I'll see you tomorrow morning as well on NFL Radio, Channel 88 for a full reaction to tonight and then also previewing tomorrow's playoff games. Be good. Be good to one another. I'm DA. We are